Welcome to the Great Shrimp Shoal. Today we're going to be adding something new to my 30-gallon acrylic shrimp tank, and you can be sure that it's probably going to be an invertebrate of some kind. As always, please make sure to like and subscribe and turn on notifications, because my shrimp would love to see you at their next birthday party. Let's get things started. I still haven't gotten over the loss of my one and only ghost shrimp. They are not a very popular breed of shrimp to keep among shrimp keepers, but I still loved him. As far as freshwater shrimp go, there are few other species that have as long a cheliped and a personality like the ghost shrimp. In my 30-gallon tank, things have been going rather smoothly. The Hygrophila polysperma, at least the one that I planted in this tank, is doing quite well, and the Rotala rotundifolia has been planted successfully, and I actually chose some of the weakest specimens from the forest to plant here, and that is a testament to how quickly and heartily this plant bounces back. Then I also have the Java moss, which has been doing quite well. When I started using this clump and I tied it to these two lava stones which I shoved into the spaces in the larger lava rock, it was completely dead, and I had let it sit in water out in the sun for a couple of days to see if I couldn't get it to grow just a little bit more. Can you see what I'm planning on adding to the shrimp tank inside of this glass Pyrex bowl? It's not easy. It's almost the same color as its surroundings. These are Snowball cherry shrimp, and I have decided to add them into the tank with the bamboo shrimp because I think that they will complement each other. It's kind of a big and small scenario. The bamboo shrimp are very big compared to their cherry shrimp cousins, and they will probably not compete for food of any kind. I also used the dwarf hairgrass from the forest, which I had taken out of its planting casing and planted for the first time in substrate here inside this new tank. Against the dark background, I could find no better shrimp to introduce to this new tank. These brightly colored, clear, and sometimes opaque white shrimp are beautiful against the dark substrate and the green of the plants. These snowball shrimp are very active compared to their bamboo shrimp neighbors, and the second that I put them in the tank, they started fluttering around investigating every single crack and finding the best places to graze. This tank has been cycling for a few weeks at least. I think it's almost been close to a month and a half, and the sponge filters have been cleaned out a number of times during that period. Now, this has nothing to do with the amount of food or waste that the bamboo shrimp are going through, because with just the 3 of them in the tank, it should have been very little. No, in this instance, I ended up doing the same thing that I did with the forest. I had taken the sponge filters before turning them on and installing them in this new tank and dipped them and squeezed them out in the water of the forest. That should have given them a good hefty amount of bacteria that should have colonized the sponges by now and would start producing a muck of some sort, which is really good for the shrimp to feed on, and it's great at reducing the amount of nitrates in the water column. Just look at the difference in the coloration between these 3 bamboo shrimp. One of them is a greenish sort of brown, the other is nearly blue, and the last one is a tan brown. And they change color during the night too, as their coloration grows more and less vibrant under different lighting conditions. Under the new light of morning, I have seen the blue bamboo shrimp appear as a milky blue, sort of like Star Wars blue milk. It doesn't take them very long to regain their coloring though, as they tan over the next couple of minutes and get some of their brown coloration back. But this early in the morning, you can see that they all have a little bit different color. One of the bamboo shrimp decided to ride a snail along the side of the glass. They don't really like to get up that high unless they have something firm to hold on to, and that gave me the opportunity to film them much closer than I would have otherwise. And you can see all the different parts of their anatomy and how they're different from your standard cherry shrimp. The first to jump out to me is the claw on the periopod, or the leg, which he's using to hold onto the snail, and that gives him the ability to get up closer to the things that he's feeding on in the current. And then there's obviously the fans on the chelipeds that he uses to feed, but the differences go further. They're also about the size of a standard crayfish, so that makes them very different from the other shrimp that I keep. It's really interesting seeing this bamboo shrimp paw at the top of the water like this, because if you keep an aquarium, you'll recognize the fact that there's a film that forms at the top of the water, and that is what a protein skimmer is for, and that has a lot of nutrients that most fish don't eat, but these bamboo shrimp are able to grab even the tiniest particles in order to sustain themselves. These shrimp change color so often that it is hard for me to keep track of them. I can kind of tell the one in the back is the one that's blue most often, the one in the middle is the green one, and the one closest to the camera is the tan one. But just look at the difference in the night and day shots of these shrimp. You can see now the blue shrimp in the back has a almost tiger stripe or a leopard stripe. It's amazing. There are many forms of decapods, including shrimp, that have chromatophores, which open and close depending upon the environment that they are in. Squid and octopus use chromatophores in order to camouflage themselves and also to communicate. It seems as though these large bamboo shrimp have a form of the same type of chromatophore, which allows them to change their color depending upon the lighting and whether or not they need to seek camouflage. As is usually the case, the new shrimp get used to their home pretty quickly, and with most of the female Neocaridina shrimp that I've added, they start to carry eggs within the first week or two. So far, I have seen every indication that the Neocaridina shrimp and the bamboo shrimp are not competing for food in any way. It does look as though the Neocaridina shrimp take the pellets and dice them up in order to feed themselves, and those little particles get pushed into the water column, which, if they're not picked up by the filter or dropped deep into the substrate, it looks as though the bamboo shrimp are able to pick them out. I've seen them kind of feeding near whenever the Neocaridina shrimp are eating the food pellets. Now, that is something that I have noticed about these bamboo shrimp, and that is that they don't really care about what's in front of them for the most part. They will push through plants, leaves, next to rocks, close to the substrate, and then through the roots as well. Whoa, did you see that? Let's get a closer look. That seems to be one of the bamboo shrimp that got scared by something, jumped up clean off the substrate, and then used its pleopods to scurry off. And then it kicked up a bunch of food and other matter off the substrate. It just goes to show you how quick these larger shrimp can be if they need to get out of a tight spot. Although it's likely that it was scared by nothing more than a little tiny snowball shrimp, so you have to kind of find that just a little bit funny. There's nothing really exceptional at first look with these Snowball Neocaridina shrimp. They have the same features and same anatomy as the regular Neocaridina shrimp. This is really just a different coloration, but with that coloration, we get the ability to see a lot of their internal anatomy, and it's a little bit different than if it were just a clear version of the Neocaridina shrimp. And that means that you can see almost everything in their internal anatomy a little bit more clearly. So, you can see the reproductive organs, the stomach, the digestive tract, and then the individual pleopods because of their semi-opaque nature. I didn't realize it, but that single Rotala rotundifolia stalk right there is hanging on just by one pair of roots. I pushed it back down into the substrate later on, and it grew to be one of the strongest plants in the tank. They say that there are only a few ways to discern the female from the male Neocaridina shrimp, but I'm pretty sure that what I'm looking at in the center of the tank right now is a male, and that's because he's lacking the saddle, or the eggs, and his antennae push back off of his head a lot more like whiskers than they do the female shrimp. We are getting close to the 2-month mark since this tank was started, and you can see that the dwarf hairgrass has actually done a much better job in branching out, and it uses its roots in order to spread through the substrate and then sprouts up new shoots where it can. These bamboo shrimp really are opportunistic feeders. I just turned on the light and I saw that this one was feeding on the return off of one of the sponge filters, and it's just amazingly cute to watch. I wasn't sure how they would take to the smaller shrimp. However, I think adding them to this tank, especially since it's a 30-gallon tank, was a really good idea. I think that they will help to balance out this tank really well. Anyway, thank you for joining us in this episode, and pretty soon we're going to end up having to try and find a name for this new tank. That will be some fun. Thank you guys for showing up, and please remember to like and subscribe and turn on notifications so that you find out when I post the next video. As always, I hope that you have some sweet shrimpy dreams before we meet next.